Hello there guys, I'm Unstable Voltage and welcome to my Europa Universalis for Mare Nostrum tutorial. This is going to be a series of shorter videos where I detail some of the more important changes to the mechanics in the Mare Nostrum DLC. If you're completely new to Europa Universalis 4, I'd highly recommend that you first check out my EU4 Common Sense tutorial series, which is a series of longer videos, but that will go more in depth for a beginner to actually teach you the base mechanics of the game. And you can find the link to that playlist in the description below this video, or you can click on the card that should be in the top right hand corner of the screen now. In this video, I'm going to be concentrating on the changes to the Navies and Admirals system. Now, as always, when a DLC comes out for EU4, there are a number of changes that are exclusive to the DLC, in which case you only get those changes if you purchase that particular DLC pack, and there are also some changes that are part of the free patch, so regardless of whether or not you buy the DLC, you will still get the free changes. So I'm going to start by going through the free changes because they are probably the easiest, quickest ones to go through, and also they're going to affect everybody if you are playing EU4 in version 1.16 or above. So the first major change that has been added into the free patch is the addition of sailors. Now, sailors work pretty much the same way that manpower did in the base game. So previously, whenever you built or repaired ships, it only cost you money. It cost you money to build a ship, cost you money to maintain a ship and to repair a ship. But now you've got sailors, so whenever you build a new ship or whenever you repair a ship, it actually costs you sailors to do so. If you were to go into the interface and build a ship, you can actually see now it tells you how many sailors each ship requires. So 200 for a heavy, 50 for a light ship, 100 for a galley, and 50 for a cog. Now, sailors, if you actually mouse over, it tells you what your maximum is and how many you gain each month, just the same way that it does with manpower. Manpower is also affected by army tradition, whereas sailors is affected by navy tradition. And the main way you actually gain new sailors is from your coastal provinces, and it's down to the development. So if you actually have a look, if we click on any of your coastal provinces, so that your inland provinces will give you 0 sailors, as you can see here, 0 sailors. Go to a coastal province and it'll tell you how many sailors that you get. And it is based on whether or not it's a city or a core, and that's something that we'll cover in different videos. But assume that you've got a fully cored province, and basically what happens is you get 25 sailors for every 1 development. So 6 development is 150 sailors. This is 13 development, so it gives us 341. That has a seat in Parliament, which is also giving it an additional 5%, which is why it's not a round number. Then down here, Somerset. This is giving us 206. Again, development is 275, so it's getting 25 per 11 development, but it's also losing a little bit because of the local autonomy. So local autonomy and other modifiers do actually change the number of sailors that you get. One further note, you can also gain sailors by occupying an enemy coastal province. So if I was to go to war with Brittany, for example, and occupy their coastal provinces, which to be honest they all are, but if I was to occupy a coastal provinces, we would also gain additional sailors from those provinces. Now, another thing that has been added with the free patch, and I'll just cover this very, very quickly. If we select a navy, you'll see that there's quite a significant change to the layout of the buttons here. But one of the buttons you will see is raid coasts. Now, it says I lack the idea to raid coastal provinces for gold and manpower and sailors. Now, raiding coasts is something that is unique to the Berbers. So we're talking the sort of North African Muslim nations. And basically they have the option to raid coasts, and they can use their ships to raid coasts and gain gold and sailors. And they don't have to be at war with you. It's pretty much like the sort of raiding mechanic that was in Crusader Kings 2. So that is part of the free patch. Another couple of changes that have been added in the free patch is the way that navies actually work in battle. So the concept of naval positioning has now gone, and they've replaced that with combat width. So it works pretty much the same way that combat width works for an army. So there's a limit to how many ships can engage in any one given phase of a battle, and that means it doesn't matter if you go in with 1,000 ships versus 100 ships, there is going to be a limit to the number that can participate at any one time. Now, another change they've also made is that they have changed the way morale works. So whenever you sink a ship in an enemy fleet, that fleet's morale takes a hit. Now, that never used to happen before. It was the individual morale of the individual ship that went down. So once the ship was sunk, it didn't really make that much of a difference to the overall morale of the fleet. Now, what this change is going to mean is that as ships start to get sunk, the morale of the fleet will go down, and it's far more likely that a fleet will break and retreat as opposed to just stay around until every last ship is sunk. Another couple of free changes have been made to the way that Admirals work. They've now added siege ability to Admirals. So siege ability on an Admiral will now increase their effectiveness when blockading enemy coasts. And they've also added the ability to capture ships based on Admiral's maneuver. Now, you've always been able to capture ships in naval combat. There's always been a chance that you can capture ships. It's like a sort of a random chance, and that still exists. But you can also increase your chance of capturing a ship that would have otherwise been sunk based on the maneuver of your Admiral. So the more maneuver your Admiral has, and I think it's like 1% per one maneuver. So if you've got a 6 maneuver Admiral, then you have a 6% chance of capturing every single ship that you would otherwise sink. Now, those are the free changes, the ones that are in the patch. What I'm going to do now is talk about the changes that are actually unique to the Mare Nostrum DLC. So as I've already mentioned, these buttons have changed quite a bit. Most of them are still pretty much the same as they were before. You've got friendlies can attach and go home at war. You've got attach, so you can attach to a friendly navy. Obviously create new units. Detach obsolete ships is still there. You've got disable automatic transportation, that still exists. Upgrading ships as before. Allowing allies to board, so allies can use your ships to move around. Raid coasts I've already talked about. Then we've got mothball. And we've also got start patrolling and evade enemy fleets. Now, start patrolling, it was there before. It allows us to set a destination zone and will basically gets your ships to move around automatically between two zones. Very, very good if you want to patrol an area for enemy ships. It's not really going to be used all that much in this expansion because a lot of the new buttons that they've added are quite nice, and we'll cover those in a moment. And you've also got the option to evade enemy ships, where if you use this option, your ships will try and get somewhere while evading enemies. So let's say I wanted to get these ships up to, well, we don't have any enemies at the, well, we're in port. Let's just go and undock. So we'll just move out into the sea with these ships. So what we can do here now is I can say I would like you... Well, we don't have any enemy fleets because we're not at war. But we could click at evade enemy fleets, tell our navy to go somewhere else, and they would deliberately try and path around any enemy navies that are in the way. So that's quite a nice little feature to have in there. So another couple of things that we also have. We have these two buttons at the bottom. We have got mission settings, and we have also got select mission. Now, if we go and have a look what we've got here in select mission, most of these you will notice from before. So we've got protect trade. As always, with light ships, you can protect trade and increase your trade power in a node. You've got privateer, which basically allows you to send ships off to sort of pirate in a trade node that you don't have any control over. And it's also very, very useful for getting power projection against your rivals. Then you've got the ability to hunt pirates, which is kind of the opposite of privateering. So hunt pirates reduces the effectiveness of privateers. It also works against the Berbers if they're trying to use their raid coasts ability, because it reduces the privateering effectiveness, and that also reduces the effectiveness of raiding the coasts. Now, another important thing to remember is normally these privateer missions, you normally only get those if you have the El Dorado DLC, but you actually unlock privateering if you have the El Dorado DLC or the Mare Nostrum DLC. Then you've got exploring. Providing you have at least 3 ships, either a combination of lights and or transport, and you have an explorer, you can use the exploration button to do exploration missions and uncover Terra Incognita. Well, actually, it should be Mare Incognita, I suppose. But that is just the same as it was in the base game. Then you've got hunting enemy fleets. Now, this is very, very specific. Seek out and attack vulnerable enemy fleets in the selected region. So you pick a region, a particular sea zone to patrol. So if we click on that, for example, we've got ships in the North Atlantic. You can zoom out and you can see where the North Atlantic is because it's a slightly different colour. Obviously, we can't see it all because we have the fog of war on, but we could go and send you to hunt out enemy fleets on the North Atlantic, and then we would patrol that sea zone looking for enemy ships. Now, the only problem you've got with that is sometimes, and if we go back to that again and go to hunt enemy fleets, you can see that the Atlantic region stops here where we've got the Mediterranean and we've also got the Baltic Sea. And the problem that you have with that is if you're chasing down enemy ships and they move from one sea zone into another, you'll stop pursuing them because you're only going to hang around in the sea zone that you've told them to patrol. So that is a little bit of a drawback, but not a terrible one. You've also got blockade enemy ports. Blockading enemy ports is a very, very useful thing to do. Again, it's done by region, but if you tell your navy to blockade enemy ports in a specific region, those ships will automatically detach blockades and surround anyone that you're at war with. So they will automatically try to blockade enemy coasts. And if the enemy attack you with a naval fleet, it will automatically bring all of your navies back together to try and engage, and then after the battle they will all split up again, which is another really nice feature. And finally here we have got intercept enemy fleets. Intercepting enemy fleets, you will try and seek out and attack enemy fleets near allied coastlines, but you'll focus on troop transport. So it's a good way not to have to micromanage your navies. You can actually go and get them to go and try and hunt down the enemy fleets for you. Now, along with all these missions, you've also got this other little button here on the right-hand side, and this is the mission settings. So if you click on this, you've got 2 different options in here. You've got the repair threshold and the aggressiveness. Aggressiveness only has 2 options, which is cautious, which is the default mode, and then you've got bold. So the aggressiveness influences how the fleet will react to enemy ships while on a mission. The higher the value, the stronger enemies the fleet will try and engage. So if you have it on cautious, then your navy will try and avoid any encounter that it thinks it probably won't win. If you've got it on bold, then your fleet will try and engage an enemy if it thinks it might have a chance of winning, even if the odds are fairly sort of in the middle, coin toss, it'll still try and engage. You've also got this repair threshold. Now currently it is on default. So you can change that between any damage, slightly damaged, the default, which would just be sort of like damaged, or severely damaged, or never. Now this refers to certain things like on trade missions and also repairing fleets. And basically the way this works now is you can actually specify how much damage a ship has to have taken before it will automatically go and repair. So if you set it to never, then your ships will never dock up to repair. If you set it to severely damaged, then only ships that are, I think it's 75% damaged or more, will go and repair. If you set it to slightly damaged, then only ships that have taken 25% damage or more will go and repair. And if you set it to any damage, then even if you've just taken 1% of damage, you'll automatically go and repair. Now, that is also very, very useful for the repair damaged ships, which is currently missing from there because I think it appears in here when you've got damaged ships, but we don't have any damaged ships. The way it used to work was the button was called Detach damaged ships, and what that would do is it would split your navy up into 2 navies, one with all of the fully repaired ships and one with all the damaged ships, which you could then go and dock and repair. What you're going to have now is a mission called Repair Damaged Ships, and what that will do is it will send all of the damaged ships that are within the threshold that you have set under the mission settings. So basically, let's say we've got this set to default, which would be 50%. So we click on the Repair Ships mission. Any ship that has taken 50% or more damage will automatically dock, then repair, then they'll rejoin that fleet. So really, really good. It means we don't have to mess around and manually micromanage all of our damaged fleets, which is a feature that I really, really like. Now, one important thing that I'd just like to mention regarding mothballing fleets. If you mothball a fleet, its morale will go down to 25%, or its state of repair will go down to 25%. Now, when you unmothball the fleet, you'll have to repair them back up, and that will cost you more sailors. You don't get any sailors back when you mothball a fleet. So do bear that in mind. You're really going to have to try and avoid unnecessarily mothballing and unmothballing fleets, because if you keep doing that, you're going to end up losing a lot of your sailors. So thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope it has helped you understand some of the changes made to the navies in Mare Nostrum. And on the next video, I will be talking about the coring states and territory system. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Until next time, goodbye for now.